Welcome to the all-new Travels with Kev podcast to get you on track to travel. And I'm going to be doing things differently. I'm hoping to do weekly or bi-weekly. We'll see how this all pans out. Podcast. Some of them are going to be news podcasts. That's what this one is. It's going to cover two news stories. So they'll kind of be on the shorter side, but more podcasts. See if you like that. If you don't, let me know. I don't have my podcast studio set up, so things are not perfect. There's somebody mowing their lawn outside, so hopefully that doesn't bleed through. I had to close the windows just to try to cut down that noise. But I hope you appreciate these, and let's see how they go. I do want to say these podcasts will often correspond with my email. I put out a weekly email that talks about train trips, a little bit about what I've been up to. And if you're interested in getting that email, you can go to travelswithkev.com/email. And that should get you to the landing page for that. How I pick these news stories are what I find important. They might not be the most current. Other people might have covered stuff before. I like to hold off and get more of the story than to be on the cutting edge and only having half the story or not all the truth. Our first story covers the DOJ suing Norfolk Southern Railroad to prioritize Amtrak trains. In a long overdue move to enhance Amtrak service, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg supports the Justice Department's lawsuit against Norfolk Southern. This legal action targets the freight railroad's failure to prioritize Amtrak's Crescent route between New York and New Orleans, and it's violating Amtrak's legal right to preferential dispatching. Jim Matthews, president and CEO of the Rail Passenger Association, supports this move. He stated, "By law, Amtrak has the right to preferential dispatching for its trains, a right it has held since 1973. He underscored the significance of upholding this law in a Rail Passenger Association newsletter, number 1361, pointing out that this law has only been pursued once before, and that was in 1979. The lawsuit highlights chronic delays caused by Norfolk Southern. According to Amtrak's Host Railroad report from June 2024, their freight trains were responsible for 1,500 minutes of delay per 10,000 train miles. The Crescent on-time performance average performance for 2023 was 57%, far below the Surface Transportation Board 80% threshold. Matthews further commented on the importance of this action, noting dispatching Amtrak trains so that they are late more than 80% of the time, month after month, year after year, cannot be explained by bad weather or supply chain disruptions, or any other operational variances. It is especially true that train schedules have been certified by both the host railroad and Amtrak. A while back, I noted in one of my articles, in one of my emails, that Norfolk Southern and Amtrak agreed to adding 2 hours of padding to the schedule, and Norfolk Southern still failed at on-time performance and is still on the lower end of all the host railroads. By holding Norfolk Southern accountable, the administration aims to ensure a more efficient and reliable travel experience for Amtrak passengers. This initiative is part of a broader effort to revitalize passenger rail service across the United States, potentially saving Amtrak significant costs in labor, equipment, wear, and overtime compensation. I will note that Amtrak needs to do its part too to get their trains to leave on time, so that the host railroads can keep those schedule pockets open. But on the other hand, if a train arrives on time, Amtrak should be able to turn those trains around more efficiently and hopefully then get their trains out. If a train comes in late, so I'm thinking of Chicago, if a train comes in uber late to Chicago, they still have to service all the other trains that came in, and that can cause a delay for that train going out the next day. I hope the other host railroads are paying attention. This is a long overdue action. Most of the Class 1 railroads are just as guilty as Norfolk Southern right now, or the one that has the best overall 4-year average is Canadian Pacific Kansas City Southern, whatever it is now. Part of that is due to the Hiawatha helps keep that one up. But a lot of them, the on-time performances have just been dipping and dipping and dipping. And it's time that all this turns around so Amtrak can put trains on time, so it can get their passengers out on time. And one thing that people might not realize is Amtrak does pay to use these tracks. So it's not that they're getting free track usage. They are a paying customer for the railroad. I remember years ago, I don't know if it's still happening, they used to pay bonuses to the host railroad if they arrived on time. They shouldn't have to do that. It's the law, and I'm hoping that this will go through and that they will be treated the way that Amtrak was set up years ago. So a lot of that's just my thought. But, in the past, Amtrak has worked with host railroads. If there are bottleneck sections of maybe double tracking certain areas or lengthening some of the spurs with the length of modern freight trains. And some of them just don't fit on spurs. So something needs to be done. It's not going to be, even if this lawsuit goes through, usually it takes a while, but it will take a few years to get everything on track. But I really believe that steps need to be taken. That's kind of my thought. My sources for this is a trains.com article and the Rail Passengers Association. And those sources are listed in the show notes. Amtrak recently updated how it displays coach fares in the app and on the website. In the past, if you were to book a group of 2 or more people, it would show the total price for the group. Now it shows the price per person, and it will display the non-discounted price. So if you're traveling, with somebody who, for example, if I was to book a train trip with my niece, it would show the adult price instead of the total price. And there's some advantages and disadvantages. If you're working on a group, you can tell people right away, hey, it's $10 per person without having to do the math. The downside, if you're just, what's the total price, I have to put that into the cart. For me, it's not a big deal. I like the old way, but, it's now aligned with airlines and other forms of transportation that often show the individual price. For me, not a big deal. I'm sure there are going to be some gnashing of teeth from some people. And the main reason why I bring it up is I just want you to be aware of that. So when booking, if you're booking a group and coach, just be aware that the price is now per person and not for the total group. It is worth noting, though, and there is... If I'm recording this on August 7th, there was a message on top of the page saying that this is a new change. If you are booking a room, it will still show the price per group. So if you're booking 2 on a train and a roomette and the price is $450, that $450 is for both people. That is not a price per person. That's the news I have for you today. This seemed, at least for me, seemed a little rough. It takes a while to get into making podcasts again. It's not as easy as one person, or it's not as easy as you think. A lot of planning and mistakes and frustration go into making these. So I hope you appreciate it. I hope that they can be patient with me and that we can grow this together and. I'm going to work on improving as we go. If you like what I do, if you like the information provided, once again, you can go to travelswithkev.com /email and get my weekly email. Don't forget to visit the website, which is travelswithkev.com. If you want to help keep this podcast and all that I do on track, you can join small but loyal group of Patreon members, and I believe for $5 or more you can get a postcard from me to you once a month, and it is from one of my trips. Sometimes it includes me, sometimes it includes scenery, trains. They're usually fun. I enjoy sending those out, and I'd love to send one to you. There are other ways you can help keep the Travels with Kev on track. And if you're interested in that, travelswithkev.com/support. And anything that you can do, even just sharing this with your friends and families or enemies or whomever, it means a lot to me. And thank you for being patient with me on my first podcast in a year. I look forward to talking to you real soon. Bye. I'm going to let my niece take this out.
Thank you for listening to the Travel with Kev podcast.